Rink in St. Paul, Minnesota, we bring you the future stars of the NHL. It's the Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase featuring the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. How's it going, everyone? Alongside Charlie Rameliotis, I'm Joe Brand, and we are delighted to have you here with us for some high-quality young hockey talent. And Charlie, a lot of butts in the seats already, but a handful of them clearly here to see Connor Bedard's first game in a Blackhawks sweater.
Yeah, sold-out crowd here, and he's going to get the opening draw in his unofficial Blackhawks debut, so here we go.
Draw is won by the St. Louis Blues, who picked up a 5-1 winner over the Minnesota Wild yesterday for the first game of this Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. And the Blackhawks top line featuring Colton Dach, Connor Bedard, and Nick Lardis all on the ice right now, as Kevin Korchinski, one of the highly ranked defensemen, gets it up to Dach, who plays it along the near boards, dumps it on into the Blues end. Dach trying to keep it alive as they'll poke it over towards the corner, and the Blues pick it back up. St. Louis Blues have their top line of Nikita Alexandrov, Zach Dean, and Zachary Bolduc. A lot of good young talent on this St. Louis Blues roster as well, Charlie.
Yeah, and the three of them were really good last night against Minnesota. Specifically, Zach Dean scoring a goal and an assist. So they've got some nice talent here tonight.
Some pressure up front. Dach with a wrister that gets a good pad save. Coming from Colton Ellis, the goaltender for the St. Louis Blues, and more traffic. Connor Bedard almost sneaking in his first goal with the Hawks.
You know what? He tried that move in practice this morning. He tried popping it over the goaltender's left shoulder. He has a little bit of Patrick Kane in him where he likes to try things on the ice. And I've seen that move with Patrick Kane. He scored that goal a couple times with Chicago. So first shift in the books for Connor.
If you're tuned in on YouTube, welcome. If you're tuned in on the Blackhawks app, the Blackhawks website, or if you're a St. Louis Blues fan, tuned in from their website or app, we're happy to have you here. As we're just underway, a minute in, no score, but a lot of pressure coming from the Blackhawks right now. Putting more pressure on Colton Ellis. The Blues finally escape it out of their zone. Hard hit there coming from Sam Savoie. We saw a lot of physicality from him last season.
Yeah, he was really good in the preseason. I remember him scrapping as well, and he actually had a really nice offensive breakout in the Q this season. I'm not really sure we thought he had that in his arsenal, but some nice offensive numbers from Sam Savoie.
Well, and it's easy to think you wouldn't see a lot of physicality from him. He's 5'10", 196 pounds, but he's got a heart like Andrew Shaw. Even Anders Sorensen brought up that comparison last season.
Yeah, similar number too, and he kind of borders the getting under opponent's skin, but also potentially crosses the line a little bit. So he's trying to find that balance between really getting underneath his opponents, but also not crossing it and putting his team in a tough spot with some penalty kills.
A fresh set out here for the Blackhawks. Ryder Rolston, the former Notre Dame Fighting Irish hockey member, out on the ice. That's Andrew Parrott waving it on to Rolston, but the Blues take it out. A little backhanded try, but couldn't get a full handle of the puck. That's Drew Commesso in net for the Blackhawks right now as Misiak plays it on over to Rolston. Sorella coming over the wild line. He gets slammed hard into the boards. Matt Mayich, with a good physical check on the far boards. The St. Louis Blues team and their youngsters looking like they're playing to the NHL caliber of their physicality. The Blues have always been known for that.
I was just going to say that this is resembling the NHL team for the Blues, and the Blues are not a very, you know, I was looking at the roster. I think they only have 2 guys above 6'2", so it's a fairly smaller roster. The Blackhawks are, on the other hand, they have a ton of guys that are above 6'3", namely like 6 of them are above like 6'4". So yeah, this is the physicality is going to be evident by St. Louis, but even though they are undersized.
Again, a big 5-1 win for the Blues yesterday against the Minnesota Wild. Vadim Zarenko putting on a show in net for the Blues last night. Today it'll be a rotation between Colton Ellis and Will Cranley. And here's Nolan Allen, Hawks defenseman, with a wrister that just gets stopped on the shoulder of Colton Ellis. Hawks trying to keep it alive in the Blues zone as Wyatt Kaiser blows a tire over in the corner. Now weaved on in and stolen away by Quentin Burns. He'll throw it on down to the Hawks end. Good to see Wyatt Kaiser getting the C on his sweater today.
Yeah, he had that stint with the Blackhawks last season coming straight from college, and he's just a really sound all-around defenseman for Chicago. So no surprise to see him wearing the C and being the veteran of the group. Yeah, really solid all-around defenseman. Oh, we got some physicality already between Colton and well,
Colton Dach was competing in this showcase last season. He played just a period against the Minnesota Wild. As we get Connor Bedard back out on the ice on the far side, he throws it forward. chases after his own loose puck as the Blues try to work it on out. They'll do so. Louis Crevier chasing it over to the corner, and that'll go down for icing.
There's one of the big guys I was talking about, Louis Crevier, 6'8". On skates, I think he's flirting 7 foot. Like, that is just a massive human being. And he was drafted in the 7th round by Chicago, so he's had a nice career, I guess, since being drafted already. Usually those guys in the 6th, 7th round, they're kind of dart throws, but he's actually made a solid impression on Chicago.
We'll get another face-off here with Bedard. St. Louis ends up picking up the puck, trying to escape it out of their zone. They do that, but Colton Dach collects the loose puck. Here's Korchinski on the near side. Dump it on in. Bedard shrugged off the shoulders from Leo Loof on the ice for St. Louis. And pitched on over to Antilio Biaska. Down to the knees is Colton Dach playing some fringy defense. And there's Connor Bedard, always with the active stick. There's Nick Lardis feeding it to Bedard. Up on over to Colton Dach, a wrister, and a glove save from Colton Ellis. Good awareness there by the St. Louis goaltender, but the Hawks' pressure keeps on coming.
Yeah, they're picking up where they left off, St. Louis. Sorenko had a really solid game last night against Minnesota, and they're already getting some strong goaltending early on here. Nice play by Colton Dach to take that hard to the net.
I like Colton Dach's quote earlier today saying, yeah, I'm just going to try to get open for Connor Bedard tonight.
Yeah, it is a balance, though, because you don't want to be too, you don't want to defer to Connor too much. But it's also, Connor can make special plays happen when he does have the puck, so it's basically just getting it to him and then finding the open ice.
Zach Dean bringing the puck in behind Drew Comesso's net. We'll talk about Comesso in a bit. He's had quite the busy offseason working on his physical stature, his mental stature, even more than that. As the Blues gain possession in their own zone. Flipped on out as Dean tries to work it out. And they'll dump it on in as Andrew Parrott chases it. And that will go down for icing. How about the stuff we've heard from Drew Comesso during rookie camp? I mean, this dude is focused so much on his mental skills. Yeah,
that and apparently he followed Andrei Vasilevsky's routine, the diet plan, the workout routine, and he added 8 pounds of muscle. And he basically started waking up I think previously he was waking up at 7:30 in the morning, but he started waking up at 5:30 to get an extra meal in his body. So it's he understands that he had to put on a little bit more muscle, and he's also made some technical tweaks that we can talk about later.
He said that mom was helping out big time with those meals, helping him pack on some extra pounds and some extra muscle. Now the Hawks working it again into the Blues zone, trying for a centering pass to Korchinski. It goes a little bit wide. Martin Misiak, the youngster on the ice for the Hawks, tries to bat at it, can't come away with it. LaFerriere pulls it away for the Blues. He brings it on down, getting slammed in by Allen. Not a complete check there, but Allen with the big presence as always. Hunter Skinner now keeping it alive at the blue line. To Dickinson, a one-timer, and that might be the first save we've seen from Drew Comesso, but locked in there.
Nolan Allen, he likes to play physical too. You saw that he tried to take a run at a guy from the blue line. That's his game. Play physical, be a shutdown type defenseman. Sometimes he can play himself out of position a little bit if he goes for the hit, but I'm sure the coaches will coach him up and make sure that he can find that balance as well.
And he has improved his offensive skill set along with that.
Yep,
which
for sure.
It's become such a more valuable attribute for defensive players in the NHL because that's just how the game is adapted to. Lucas Romeo dumps it on in. Playing off the back wall for Rand, chasing it, but the Blues will come away with it. Biaxa out to center ice. Wyatt Kaiser keeps it alive for the Hawks. Marcel, a name so fun, you got to say it twice. He's a big guy. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch during this rookie camp.
Yeah, and he's already a media favorite because he has a personality that had us laughing during his first media availability with Chicago. Really good personality. Interesting thing about him, he already signed a 1-year AHL contract with Rockford. You don't really see that from guys that were immediately drafted, and he was a 5th-round pick too, so for him to make the pro jump right away, very interesting, but I think it will suit his game better because he was basically saying, like, I'm way too big for the guys in juniors, like I'm 245. I mean, it's not, I don't even know if it's safe for some of those younger kids. So
he said he's excited to play with some bigger boys more to his size. Wyatt Kaiser takes the puck all by himself, dumps it on in. Ellis will play it out. Matt Mayich surveying the ice and pushing it up forward to Zach Dean. He picked up a goal in last night's game against the Minnesota Wild. Alexandrov, who's wearing the C, pushes it forward, and Parrott just swats it on out of there. Here's Connor Bedard dumping it on into the Blues end. Picked up by Kessel as he rings it around the boards. No, Matt Kessel is not related to Phil Kessel.
I'm glad you answered that because I had that question and forgot to look it up before this. So
a quick Google search right before the broadcast.
Joe is more prepared than I am, I guess.
I don't know about that. You got a binder. I just got a couple of sheets over here. Almost 7 minutes into this first period, still no score, and a lot more offensive pressure coming from the Hawks so far. Matt Kessel works it over the Hawk line. Shot coming, and Drew Comesso with another big stop as Parrott and Bonifon got a little tangled up, and now we do get a little Rask. Parrott catching a couple of right hooks and giving back a couple of right hooks of his own, a couple of uppercuts there against Sam Bitten. And they're letting the boys scrap. They'll separate it now, but some physicality as the Hawks have been kind of down the Blues' throat offensively. St. Louis with a punch back theoretically and physically. And Bitten still wants more.
It's not uncommon to see fighting in this sort of event because you have a lot of rookies here that want to make a strong impression on their teams. Whether it's, look, they're still jawing at it. I didn't even see what happened. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I just saw the replay there. But anyway, it's not uncommon to see some fighting because you want, some of those young guys want to make a strong impression, whether it's with their AHL teams, whether it's their junior teams, maybe guys that are even undrafted free agents that are trying to make, trying to get on teams' radar. So we've seen a lot of these games in the past, Minnesota, Traverse City, where there are some fights because of that. But like there's some bad blood. Like they were jawing at each other going to the penalty box. It wasn't just, it didn't look like some respectful fight. Like something must have happened.
Now Bitten is still pretty emotional in the penalty box right now. So we get a face-off here. Paul Ledwinski winning it. Almost stolen away by Washkarak. A good hard hit on Savoie. An attempt right in front of Comesso, but he gets a stick on it, and we'll get a penalty here. This will be a tripping penalty, and we're going to see our first power play.
By the way, you'll see there the Blackhawks are wearing the Rocky Wirtz patches in honor of the late chairman Rocky Wirtz. Nice to see that.
Tripping penalty is on Nolan Allen, but yeah, the Rocky Wirtz patch. Obviously, we're here for the Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. Unfortunately, Tom Kurver, the former Minnesota assistant GM that passed away from cancer back in 2021 at the age of 58. It's a great event that's been going on the past couple of years now. Minnesota Wild, the Blackhawks, the St. Louis Blues all involved. The Blues with their first power play here, dumped on in by Bolduc. Over to Zach Dean, tries to ring it on over to Bolduc, but Wyatt Kaiser stealing it. There's Ledwinski throwing it on down to the Blues end. 12:25 left in this first period. St. Louis Blues on a power play. Again, that 5-1 winner for the Blues yesterday against the Wild. They didn't pick up their first goal until late in the first period. But again, great defensive work yesterday by Vadim Zarenko, but so far Colton Ellis has continued that against the pressure that the Blackhawks have brought on. Laferriere over to Alexandrov, back to Laferriere, and Drew Comesso with another good stop low.
St. Louis last night had a goal on the power play, penalty kill, and even strength. So they came at Minnesota in all different ways.
Almost a Mario Lemieux hat trick for a team. That one will go out of play. Stop of the clock with 11:48 left in this first period, and a little bit less than a minute left on St. Louis's power play.
We saw Zach Dean there on the first power play unit for St. Louis. The Blackhawks have, I think it was 5 guys on that Team Canada World Juniors: Skorchinski, Del Mastro, Bedard, Colton Dock,
Nolan Allen,
and then Zach Dean was also on that team. So we got 25% of the, more than 25% of the guys that were on that team are on the ice that won a gold medal.
Yeah, Dean won that gold medal with all those guys. Picked up 3 points in the 7 games that he played. And the Blues win the face-off. Trying to throw it down. Washkarak with a tough angle shot. It's batted up into the air and swatted on out. Marcel with the hand-stick coordination. Andre Gaudette pushing it on up. There's Abramov fluttering it forward. Comesso tried to get a handle on it. It's Kaiser taking it. Gary Felchman trying to push it on out. Abramov keeping it alive. On the near side, spins around. Missed it over on the far side. Here's Gaudette. Abramov with a one-timer and got blocked by one of his own teammates in Washkarak.
Wojcinski getting some penalty kill time. He's typically the guy, man, in the first power play unit, more offensive, but good to see him getting an opportunity on the defensive side of things.
Penalty about to expire for the Blackhawks. Allen now comes out of the box right where the puck is. Couldn't come away with it. The Hawks do now. Connor Bedard back on the ice. As it's pushed on over to number 98. Over the Blues line. Slows down. Tried to throw a pass. Now gets it across. Here's a shot coming and a shoulder save. Bedard pulls it on down. Looks on over. Throws one towards the net. It's loose in front.
I think they got him up high.
Ooh, and that caught someone. Lucas Romeo down on the ice. Yeah, did he get hit with a stick or the puck?
I think it might have been the puck.
Bedard's shot coming from the high slot. And Romeo went immediately down, but he's already up to his knees. Take another look.
Yeah, it was the puck. That's no fun. Somewhere Jared Tenorti is saying, I understand the feeling, buddy.
Lucas Romeo will skate on off. But 10:29 left in this first period. Let's see what we got here. Unfortunately, we don't have all the statistics like we normally would for an NHL game, so Charlie and I aren't that great of counting shots on goal on our hands right now, but I think it's safe to say the Blackhawks have had more pressure, but here come the Blues now. Zach Dean in behind Comesso's net. Throws it on over, shot coming, and Comesso got a piece of it.
Good skill by Dean there.
Now here's Connor Bedard picking up the puck with speed across the Blues line, slows on down. Comes on over, leaves it for Korchinski. Korchinski with a heck of a lot of speed, rings around, looking for Bedard. One-timer coming, and the ricochet couldn't go in. Taken now by Alexandrov. As tries to work it in over into the Hawks end. Misiak comes away with the loose puck. Tried to force it over to Bedard, but just not quite enough on it. It's Colton Dock and Alexandrov get a little mixed up in front of the benches. Korchinski over to Connor Bedard at the Minnesota logo. Gets taken down. Here come the Blues now, almost with numbers. Shot coming, shoulder save, Comesso. Colton Dock bats it forward, and the Hawks are going to get a change here.
Comesso is very stationary in net. You don't see him scrambly very often.
Sam Savoie over to Nolan Allen. A touch pass to Ludwinski. Went for a centering pass to Gavin Hayes, but just a little bit out of his reach. Shot over to Wyatt Kaiser, who will settle the puck down. Hawks will play the Minnesota Wild tomorrow to wrap up this Tom Kurvers prospect showcase. The Wild with the night off tonight. Training camp just right around the corner for the entire NHL. Kaiser pushing it forward to Savoie. Gavin Hayes pitching it on back. Ludwinski looking to pick up the loose puck, and he breaks it free to Savoie, and we get a whistle blown. Stoppage here, high sticking. It's going to go to the Hawks, I believe. Paul Ludwinski, 39th overall pick in 2022. Hawks are really valuing his speed and forecheck ability, as we're going to see Sam Savoie head of the penalty box.
Well, it's what we were talking about earlier. He can log those penalty minutes, but sometimes he does cross the line a little bit.
So it's LaFerriere, Zach Bolduc, Zach Dean.
I think it's important though, like you don't want to coach that out of him. You just want to teach Savoie how to manage. You know, he just plays so hard and likes to play hard-nosed.
And it's a big part of his game.
Right.
We've got 8 minutes left in this first period. Felchman trying to break it over the Hawk line, and he'll do so. Alexandrov, who's wearing the C for the St. Louis Blues, pushing it out over to Buschinger. Alexandrov gaining speed now over the Hawk line. Comes on in. Shot coming from the high slot. A stick save from Comesso. Allen going in hard along the far wall against Dean. LaFerriere with a shot. Almost got the redirection. Dean rings it along the board to Alexandrov. He whiffed on it. Back over to Dean. Buschinger. Dean. Buschinger again. St. Louis being patient with this power play. Under a minute to go, though, on it. 7:20 left in this first period as the Hawks will clear it on out. Ryder Rolston, Kevin Korchinski, Louis Crevier, and Antti Sorella out on the PK for the Hawks. As you mentioned, Charlie, more penalty kill minutes. Kevin Korchinski.
Now Connor Bedard's getting some time too.
He is. Here's Washkarak down the near boards. Kick that out to the corner. Gaudette throws one on net. Almost sprinkled through. Comesso stopped it and then got some help from Korchinski.
We're seeing more and more offensive players start to play on the penalty kill in the NHL these days, and it really has something to do with the fact that you can maybe catch opponents. Another penalty coming up here.
Yeah, we're going to get a penalty on the Blues this time. There's 8 seconds left on the Blackhawks penalty kill, so we'll have 4-on-4 for that amount of time. The fight for fighting has expired for Andrew Parrott and Sam Bitten. The Hawks will get their first power play likely after 8 seconds of 4-on-4.
To finish the point really quick, we've seen the Blackhawks do it. Alex DeBrincat, Kirby Dach. Remember, they started playing more and more penalty kill, and they were scoring some shorthanded goals. Like, they were generating some offensive chances. And I know Edmonton, they play Connor McDavid on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
So you can get, you know, especially with only one defenseman on the ice, you can get some scoring opportunities. So I'm curious to see if the Blackhawks utilize Connor Bedard in that way this year. Maybe not right off the gate, but there might be some opportunities for that this year.
Well, I think there's strategic ways you can do that too, and face-off situations where the face-off is. As the penalty is expired for the Hawks, they're on their first power play now of the day. Connor Bedard, Kevin Korchinski, Gavin Hayes, Colton Dach, Martin Misiak all on the ice. And here's Connor Bedard with some speed, throws one on net, a little bit off to the right. May have gotten deflected as Colton Dach tries to keep it alive. There's Bedard leaving it in the corner for Korchinski. Gavin Hayes on over to Misiak, searching for Bedard. He'll rip one on and it can't get through. Good diving stop, second attempt. Misiak's there and somehow still doesn't go in. Loose puck behind the net as Misiak will pull it on out. Bedard
Great
settles it in the
Matt
corner.
Kessel.
Here's Bedard again, weaving in at the high slot. To Gavin Hayes, to Bedard. It's broken up and into the rafters. Turns into a souvenir. Now it'll stay on the ice. But 58 seconds left in the Blackhawks power play. Yeah, a couple of huge stops coming from St. Louis.
No, it's interesting too. Connor Bedard on the right side of the face-off circle. Typically, you see the guys with the right-handed shots. They'll go on the one-timer side. But with him, he's got such a lethal shot. His wrist shot it's so good that you kind of want him on the other side so he can pull the trigger all the time.
Bedard pokes it over to Korchinski. It's the same five out there for the Hawks. Korchinski, Gavin Hayes over to Bedard. Back over to Korchinski, to Bedard. Connor surveying. Curving on in now. Up over to Misiak. Gavin Hayes got it at an awkward angle. 30 seconds left on the Blackhawks power play. Gavin Hayes trying to get it through to Bedard, but St. Louis with another good steal and then just flips it on out.
Nice play by Zach Dean there to disrupt that cross-ice pass.
Colton Dach leaves the ice. We've got 15 seconds left on this Blackhawks power play. Here comes Bedard over the blue line, weaving on through. Got shrugged a little bit off into the corner. Misiak still with it. There's Wyatt Kaiser now. Shot coming from Crevier, and it gets sucked into the belly of Colton Ellis. Good spot for the St. Louis goaltender. 1 second left on this Blackhawks power play.
And Bedard played every single minute of that power play except this final second. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. Like, you want to put Connor in those situations this year where he can gain some confidence offensively. I mean, he's not going to need it because he's going to be able to create his chances at even strength. But there are very few guys that saying, hey, get to the bench when their power play time is over. Connor Bedard is going to be one of those players where you're like, just let him stay out there.
Hawks power play is over, but they're still creating this pressure until St. Louis kicks it out to the neutral zone. As Lardis will chip it on in. Ledwinski chasing it into the corner. Marc-Andre Gaudette stiffing him into the boards. Del Mastro goes for a tough angle shot, and another good stop by Colton Ellis. Boy, the Blues goaltending staff these past couple of games has really put on a show.
Really good.
Del Mastro couldn't keep it alive in the corner. Kaiser settles it on down. Under 4 minutes left in this first period. Ledwinski across the neutral zone dumps it into the Blues, and Hawks will get a change. Here's Sam Bitten with a lot of speed in the corner, went for a centering pass, and Drew Commesso got his stick in the way, breaking it up as it was intended for Bonifant. We've got to give a lot of credit to this Blues staff being pretty resilient. Drew Commesso has come up big with a couple of stops too. You mentioned him going on the same diet as Andrei Vasilevsky. How about the fact that he's been working out with Jeremy Swayman throughout almost the entire offseason, is what he said.
Yeah, he lives in Boston, so he's a Boston kid, and worked out with Charlie McAvoy. And the one technical tweak that he did make, and it was recommended by Jeremy Swayman, was lowering his hands, just because the NHL players' shots, they're so hard and they're just so different than college that you just want to have a strong hand. That's the adjustment Drew made.
Ryder Rolston trying to throw one on net, but another good diving block coming from one of the Blues players. Kept alive, shot coming, and another save from Colton Ellis. 3:07 left in this first period. Boy, the Blues feel like 3 or 4 blocked shots already. They're always in the right spot.
Yeah, and the chippiness feels like the Blackhawks Blues days, and there's really no, there's no like built-in rivalry with these kids. So,
well, let's face it. I mean, I know the Blues played yesterday, but for a lot of these guys, this is their first game in quite some time. I mean, we heard what Connor Bedard said the other day, that he hasn't played a game since April, and he's really eager to get back onto the ice. And he said that's the only way I feel like I can get ready for training camp is by playing a game.
Yeah, and as a player, you know where you stand within your organizational depth chart, right? So you know, like, okay, I'm fighting with these guys for a roster spot, whether it's in the NHL, whether it's in the AHL. And so you understand, like, you want to make an impression to, outdo the players that you are going up those against with those roster spots. So I'm not surprised to see guys playing hard, even though they haven't played in a really long time, and just things getting chippiness. You also hear that a lot too, players saying, like, I love throwing a hit to start the game because it gets me into it, right? So there are a lot of guys that they do some things that they try to get into the game, and we've seen it early on here.
Well, a lot of times that internal competition can create a lot of animosity throughout an organization, but so far everyone that we've talked to in the Blackhawks organization has thought the opposite. And it just brings out the best in all these players because they're fighting for positions with a lot of their friends and a lot of their teammates, but when everyone is under that understanding, it can create a team camaraderie. It's just got to come from the right personnel. There's a loose puck that Lardis picks up, trying to feed Bedard, and it goes off the shoulder. Another stop by Ellis. Loose puck in front, and the Blues will kick it away. Well, that time Bedard was almost just at the right spot at the right time. Ferrier loses the puck to Wyatt Kaiser. Kaiser picks it up again. Brings it down low, goes for a tough angle shot, just trying to shovel it forward. Backhanded attempt from Bedard, and Ellis was sitting on his back, not allowing that puck to cross the red line.
Boy, good opportunity there for the Chicago Blackhawks. Wyatt Kaiser taking it stronger than that. Bedard, that's got to be his fourth shot on goal of the first period. I mean, he's all over it right now.
He's everywhere, and they are finding him. We'll get another face-off here featuring Bedard and Zach Dean. Dean wins the draw against Connor Bedard. Bolduc shovels it forward. Alexandrov along the near boards. Here's Dean. How about the speed on him? Pushing along the back wall. We've got 1:35 left in the first period. Colton Dach tries to set up the offense for the Hawks here.
Going top line versus top line here.
Running over to the Blues end, but They're kicking on back out. Here's Andrew Parrott. 1:15 left in this first period. Leo Loof sends it along the boards. Good shovel pass. Here's Bolduc weaving on through, and we'll get a penalty called. It's going to be on Colton Dock. 1:02 left in this first period.
I think it's going to be Del Mastro for taking it hard to the net. Zach Bolduc, he had 110 points in the Q last year. Really solid player.
Andrew Parrott continuing his physicality. Yeah, Charlie, you're right. It's Ethan Del Mastro in the penalty box. Paul Ludwinski. Face-off circle, and it's taken away by Wyatt Kaiser. Blackhawks on the PK, but trying to create a rush here. Kaiser trying to force it forward. He got thrown into the goalie of Ellis. Blues working on out. Here's Washkaroff.
Second time in as many shifts, Kaiser taking it hard to the net. You know, I think he's 6 foot, but he plays bigger than he is. Like he doesn't look 6 feet. He looks bigger than that.
35 seconds left in this first period. Blues can ride out a man advantage towards the end of it. Looking for one last rush here. There's Abramov. Kicked on out to Gaudette. Throws one on net. Almost redirected in there from Holscher at a good stick. Under 20 seconds left in the first period. Fight for it in the corner. It's riveting stuff here in the final 10 seconds. There's a hard hit from Antti Sorella. Now a shot coming from the high slot, and another save from Comesso. He won't freeze it, and that will expire the first period. No score. A lot of pressure coming from the Blackhawks offensively. There were bursts from St. Louis. Great goaltending on both ends, especially Colton Ellis of the Blues. Any other thoughts to take away from the first 20 minutes, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm sure the Blackhawks are going to go into the locker room saying, let's trim down those penalties. 3 in the first period is not ideal, especially when you have a player like Connor Bedard. I think you want to be on the power play more than the penalty kill. So, and yeah, I thought St. Louis played decent. They had a decent period. They gave up some chances, but their goalie is really solid, picking up where they left off last night.
Well, you didn't miss any goals, but we've got 40 more minutes potentially to see some. It's the Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase from St. Paul, Minnesota. Blackhawks and Blues without a score through the first 20 minutes. Still no score from the TRIA Rink in St. Paul, Minnesota, but a whole lot of action in this Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase, a game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis. With Charlie Remeliotis, I'm Joe Brand. Let's see what you missed in the first period. We got underway and there were some physicality, even some fights, and a couple of really good chances for the Blackhawks and the Blues, but both goaltenders in Colton Ellis and Drew Commesso really stepping up, Charlie.
Yeah, we got some scrapping as well. I thought the Blackhawks were the better team at even strength. I think St. Louis started to generate some chances on the power play, but if the Blackhawks can stay out of the box, I feel like they'll be able to capitalize. And right here, Connor Bedard, like you might have had 6 or 7 shot attempts in that first period. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in this period and in the third. And we'll see if he gets his first unofficial goal or point as a Chicago Blackhawk.
Connor Bedard played an entire power play for the Hawks. I do think it was about 1:56 seconds, but still, he hardly left the ice. Speaking of special teams, the Minnesota Wild will have 58 seconds of a man advantage to begin this second period. Colton Ellis, it looks like he's going to stick in between the pipes to begin this second period. We were told that he and Will Cranley were going to rotate, so keep an eye on that halfway through this second period. But again, a 5-1 winner for the St. Louis Blues over the Minnesota Wild last night to kick off this Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. Drew Commesso remains in the net for the Blackhawks. He had a couple of big stops as well. And again, it's a PK for the Hawks. Antti Sorella, Ryder Rolston, Nolan Allen, and Wyatt Kaiser on the PK for the Hawks. It's Kaiser who's wearing the C. Dishes it on back and forward, and the Hawks taking their time, just trying to tick off more seconds of this penalty kill.
Yeah, Commesso, I think, is going to play the whole game tonight, and Mitchell Weeks is going to play start tomorrow for Chicago. So they only brought 2 goalies. St. Louis brought 3.
The Hawks will play Minnesota tomorrow at 3. And again, it was Vadim Zarenko in between the pipes for the entire game for the St. Louis Blues yesterday. This is the Hawks' first bit of action for a lot of these guys we were mentioned earlier since April. The Blues trying to keep the pressure here in the Hawk zone. He's puck over towards the circle. Zach Dean settles it down. Zach Dean weaving on in, downstairs, cross-ice pass, and whiffing on the shot was Alexandrov. Puck may have jumped over his stick, though. There's Kaiser and Sorella. Hawks can put a little 2-on-1 here. Sorella couldn't finish off the pass.
It's Kaiser again going stronger than that. He is not afraid to jump in offensively. He's such a good skater that he's able to get back and defend.
Kaiser picked up 3 assists in 9 games at the NHL last year with the Blackhawks. First NHL assist of his career came on March 28th against Dallas. How about his second assist, that game against Pittsburgh that essentially knocked the Penguins out of the playoff race and really helped the Blackhawks with their draft lottery odds.
Yeah, oddly. that was an interesting game. A lot of Blackhawks fans thought they were ruining their chances, but it ended up turning out to be a very valuable win.
I remember the tweets. Penalties clearly expired. Blackhawks with their top line out there again, and here is Connor Bedard weaving on through, and how about that shot?
My goodness.
A bullet to the chest of Colton Ellis. He sucks it up, but that was a bullet.
So the hockey geek is going to come out in me right now, but
oh, it hasn't yet?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe not. Let's take a look at this I mean, just an unbelievable release by Connor, but with Bedard, you see the flex on his stick, like it's so whippy. The flex on his stick is 70. Like, so for comparison, like if it's a lower number, that means it's very whippy. If it's higher, it's stiff. So if you want to hit slap shots, it's probably to have a number, like a higher number. Patrick Kane's stick flex was 95, or is 95. Austin Matthews, one of the best goal scorers. I think it's like in between 80 and 82. And Alex Ovechkin is 79. Connor Bedard's is 70. So that's extremely whippy. But I mean, he pulls it out. It's basically like a slingshot off of his stick. It's really impressive to watch.
So what do you? Ooh, a hard hit there as Hayes goes down into the boards. It's still trying to get the puck to somebody. What do you mean by whippy? What does that mean?
Yeah, so it basically, like, it's the amount of like force that you can put on the stick for it to bend.
So it's more flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like the whippier the stick, the more it just slings off your stick. But if it's stiff, you know, it's better. You see like a lot of defensemen will have stiffer sticks because they're more so taking point shots. So they want that stiff flex to, you know, a guy like Connor Bedard, he's not really going to slap the puck a lot. He's going to wrist it. And so that's why his stick is very whippy. You see it with Patrick Kane a lot too.
And yeah, I mean, when you talk about those types of players, very offensively skilled, but also just so much finesse.
Right. And even, I mean, not to say that you can't have a whippy stick and be a good slap shot, because we see Alex Ovechkin, like his stick flex is 79, but I mean, he's just go look at pictures of Alex Ovechkin's stick flex of him slap shotting it. I mean, it is like almost, it's bending so hard. It's crazy. I don't know how he does it with that hard of a slap shot.
Well, again, that's just players using their strengths and the right kind of equipment. As Andrew Parrott's attempt goes right into the glove of Colton Ellis. Boy, the St. Louis Blues have given up 1 goal over more than 4 periods over these past 2 games. Well, we talked about it coming in, Charlie. Kind of an interesting situation with both these teams up at the NHL level. Neither team has announced a captain yet for this year, and there's a chance that these 2 teams could be 2 of 8 in the NHL without a captain.
Yeah, and I think, especially with Chicago, even St. Louis too, like losing, you know, you go from Alex Pietrangelo and Ryan O'Reilly. Like, I don't think you want to rush a decision like that. So if they're, I don't see the harm in having 3 alternates, and then when you feel like you have the franchise changer, you have the guy, then you can name them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago's likely going to roll with 3 alternate captains this year, and then at some point, I mean, it's going to be Bedard, but it's still early, and they're coming from Jonathan Taves.
There is Bedard. And Charlie Roumeliotis says the future captain of the Blackhawks, again, right into the glove of Colton Ellis. He is locked in.
Yeah, he is. And again, you saw that whippy shot from Connor. I mean, he's at the blue line and he's taking a shot like that. Like his shot is harder when he whips it like that as opposed to taking a slap shot. It's. By the way, Joe, Nick Lardis is on this line. I found out he's 50% Greek, so I'm already pulling for him. More Greeks assembled in Chicago. I have to talk to Doug Armstrong, see if he can finesse a deal for Jordan Kyrou to come to Chicago, because
Doc tried
to collect him.
Doc tried to force one through. If you took the under of a Greek reference for Charlie Roumeliotis in this game, let's see, 24 minutes into the broadcast. Yeah. Congratulations.
Got Chris Chelios, his numbers being retired, another greatest Greek hockey player of all time.
We're just so lucky to have you, the Greek historian of the Chicago Blackhawks.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
Colton Dock up to the corner for Nolan Allen. We've seen a lot of physicality from Allen today. Blues working on out. There's Zach Bolduc with speed. Going against Louis Crevier. Pulls up. Goes for a centering pass. Jumps off of Alexandrov's stick. Blues go for a tough angle shot on a backhand try from Zach Dean. He's a crafty player. He's doing a lot of things offensively that just catch you off guard.
Yeah. This line has been fun to watch for St. Louis. Even last night, I mean, they really dominated Minnesota. And St. Louis doesn't have, they don't have the strongest pipeline. Just like they're middle of the pack, but they do have some players to get excited about. And these 3 on the ice right now together, those are 3 of them.
Chippiness continues. Wyatt Kaiser with a hard shrug. On to Zachary Bolduc, sending him down to the ice. Here's Ryder Rolston throwing it over to the Blues end, but we'll pick it up. We got a delayed penalty here.
I think it was delayed offside.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Ryder Rolston works it on out. Anders Sorensen said that Rolston does everything fast. He really likes his speed and his agility out on the ice.
Yeah, he also said that he thinks his game is going to translate better. I think Ryder said his game is going to translate better in the pros than it is college. He's really fast. He's a very intense player. The Blackhawks actually got him. For they acquired his rights from Colorado, so he actually wasn't even an original Blackhawks draft pick. And then ends up signing an entry-level contract with the Blackhawks. So we'll see what he'll play in Rockford this year, I'm sure, but he'll be an interesting player to monitor because he kind of just got added into the fold.
Just saw Sam Bitten. His brother Will made the NHL debut with the St. Louis Blues last season. We've got 14:20 left in this second period, still without a goal. A little less offensive chances in the second period so far. Skinner wanted to load up, but instead sends it along the boards. Burns chips it on in. And Ledwinski pulls it out. Tough pass there to Parrott, and he gets hit hard down by Sam Bitten.
So the Blackhawks made a couple of big trades on draft day in 2022 when they traded Kirby Dach and Alex DeBrincat. The headliners obviously were
Savoie with a centering pass. Hayes couldn't finish it, but keeps it alive.
The headliners are obviously Korchinski and Frank Nazar, both of them in the separate deals, but they also got later round picks, I think third-round picks, and Gavin Hayes and Paul Ledwinski, both of those guys were acquired with the additional picks in the mid-rounds by Chicago, and both of them have been really solid players. You kind of look at the trade and you're going to look at how Korchinski and Frank Nazar develop, but they might have, I don't want to say hidden gems because it's too early to say that, but Gavin Hayes scored 40 goals last season, and Paul Ledwinski, I think he had the highest motor, at least by scouts.
Well, I will use the phrase a hidden gem since we're here in Minnesota talking about Sam Rinzel. I mean, we were just talking to Kyle Davidson before the game, and he mentioned that that's where he noticed Sam Rinzel was here at the TRIA rink. And, you know, a lot of people thought he might be too young to take so high in the first round, or I should say just take in the first round a couple of years ago. But I think scouts are raving about his skill, and especially his skating. Here's Connor Bedard picking up the loose puck, looking, and we get a whistle blown. It's going to be a penalty on the Hawks. I think Yuri Felchman.
Fourth penalty here on Chicago for the night.
Blues are also really good at just timing up their blocked shots. They're laying out bodies any opportunity that they can, but they're always in the right spot.
They really do have the identity of their NHL team. When I'm watching these Blues and I'm like, man, they're scrappy. You know, they don't have a, you know, they got some high-end talent here, but
well, I guess Zach Dean hit the deck because he got interfered with. There's a Rickett one-timer from Bolduc, but it missed high. Here's Dean. In behind Camesso. Little give and go. Back down to LaFerriere. Trying to work it in. Went for a centering pass and a good breakup. Wyatt Kaiser getting a stick down.
Kaiser's going to be really good tonight.
Yeah, he really has. And it's nice to see the front office giving him the C today.
Very confident player, too. I remember talking to him in the Blackhawks locker room when he got brought over to the NHL, and he's, you know, not very nervy. He's just very steady, comfortable in his own skin, comfortable with his game.
Well, I imagine playing in 9 NHL games last year, you got to have a ton of confidence riding into a game like this. Here's Korchinski playing it off the boards, using his speed and throwing one on net. Got tangled up by one of his own teammates in Marcel Marcel. He's off to the races. The Blues threaten down the other end. Centering pass that Camesso breaks up with a stick. I mean, Kevin Korchinski played so well in this tournament last year. He earned himself a couple of preseason games with the Hawks last season. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do in these 2 games and what that can lead to early this year at the NHL level. Yeah,
last year I remember, I think it was Detroit. He had a really solid game against the Red Wings, but it was that highlight that he had that that saucer pass from his own end that went right on the tape of Lucas Reichel. It stayed in the air forever, and they connected on a goal, and it was like, that's the future of the Chicago Blackhawks right there. But it is going to be interesting to see what the Blackhawks do with Korchinski this year. He's not eligible for the AHL, so it's basically like he's got to stay in the NHL or he's got to go back to the WHL with the Seattle Thunderbirds. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts this season on the opening night roster with the Blackhawks. He gets however many games, and then eventually he gets sent back to Seattle. You just don't want to rush it.
Stolen by Bedard, searching and throwing one on net, but his stick just explodes.
Well, we're talking about that stick flex.
Very whippy. Well, he's got a new twig. Great job by the equipment manager over there. I feel like Bedard didn't have a stick for like 3 seconds. Andrew Parrott bending it forward. Doc trying to keep it alive in the corner. Leo Loof putting a hard body on him. Bedard just tries to pull it on out. Man, impressive play by Leo Loof along the backboards, but the Hawks keep it alive. Del Mastro over to Crevier. On the circle he loads up, and another shoulder save from Ellis.
Great shot by Crevier. He changed the angle on that shot by bringing it back.
Moves it back this time. Lardis with a whiff, but hangs onto the puck. Second try, and another save from Ellis. Colton Dock and Leo Loof, they were going to town over along the backboards.
Leo Loof got Colton Dock up high, and the refs missed it. Colton's not happy about it. They're still jawing.
Well, again, Dock had a quick exit to this tournament last season. He played in one period and then had to leave due to a concussion, and he's been dealing with injuries for quite some time. He's told us a couple of times how eager he is to just play a full season, to just play consistently.
Yeah, here's you're going to see the highlight. Ooh. Stick got up. I don't know if that. I mean, it wasn't very vicious.
I'll get the tempers flaring though, as Wyatt Kaiser steals the puck, goes for a centering pass. Here's Misiak dangling around, centering try, and another save by Ellis. Are you kidding me? Grevier from the corner dumps it down. It's almost like the Hawks are on a power play, but this has been even strength for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's been Chicago's challenge tonight, is having those 4 penalties. Marty Misiak, he's had a nice. He almost scored in the first period. Then he almost sets one up here.
Monty Sorello with a drive, and another breakup coming from, this is actually Will Cranley in net now for the St. Louis Blues. The Blues did make that switch. We've got 8:35 left in the second period. Nolan Allen settling it down to Savoie. Let's go over to the Blues end. Down for icing.
And Cranley comes in cold and makes that save.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. All 3 of the goals, the goalies for St. Louis have.
Now, I mean, I know Drew Comesso's been perfect tonight too, but again, this Blues goaltending staff, 1 goal allowed in almost 5 periods.
Here's Misiak. Nice setup there to Gavin Hayes. Misiak was drafted 1st overall in the OHL this year, so that's where he's going to play. And I think, remember Kyle Davidson, I think, joked to him and was like, oh, you and Connor Bedard, 1st overall picks. And Misiak was like, no, it's not the same thing.
Go to the Erie Otters, right?
Yep.
Blackhawks are very familiar with that.
Yeah, Dylan Strome, Alex DeBrincat.
Taylor Radish, the only guy
that's right.
left on the current roster, but still.
Yep. Connor McDavid played there as well.
Goes down again for icing as we've got less than 8 minutes left in the second period.
We talked about Korchinski, but his defense partner Nolan Allen, they played with each other in the Seattle Thunderbirds. The Blackhawks had 3 of those players, Colton Dock, Korchinski, and Nolan Allen, with the Seattle Thunderbirds last year. I think it's just like happened by coincidence. I don't think they were trying to intentionally collect Blackhawks.
I wonder how much thought process that does go into WHL teams, though. I mean, and I'm sure the NHL teams are thrilled with it, but you're right, Korchinski and Dock came in on separate deals. As Washkarok tries to keep it alive in the Hawk zone. Kick that out to Skinner.
Nolan Allen, his stick broke, so he's without a stick right now. He's trying to get one.
He's boxing everyone out down there. Korchinski comes away with it. Try to feed it on through, but Skinner keeps it in the Hawk zone. Blues continuing on this pressure. Korchinski couldn't get it fully out. Now he will. Here comes Marcel on the near boards. Muscling it off against Gaudette, but couldn't hang on to it. There's Felchbaum with a nice stoppage of the puck to keep it alive. Del Mastro will settle it down.
Del Mastro, he's one of the guys I'm most intrigued about in the Blackhawks pipeline. Drafted in the 4th round of 2021. Again, like we were talking earlier, a lot of these Blackhawks defensemen draft picks are very interesting. They're later picks. Wow, Connor's all alone right here.
Connor Bedard up on into corner. Parrott with a drive. Colton Dock trying to get the redirection.
I think Farron got a piece of that. He deflected it in front. But to finish my point, there are a lot. You think of Del Mastro and Louis Crevier, 7th round pick. Wyatt Kaiser, 3rd round pick. Like, a lot of these guys are mid to later round picks, and they're making a name for themselves in the Chicago Blackhawks organization.
Here's Colton Dock reaching and trying to pull Cranley out of the net, and somehow Cranley comes away with another save, keeping this game scoreless.
Somebody was joking to us before we went on the air that this might be a 1-0 game.
And we didn't believe
them. They were
them.
joking.
Yeah.
I was like, easy. We're trending in that direction.
6:12 left in the second period. Well, you like this patience by Colton Dock here.
Colton Dock, obviously he was in the Blackhawks organization at the same time as Kirby, and before he got, you'd think brothers are very similar. They actually play differently.
Right.
Colton is a shooter.
Crevier with a drive, and it gets redirected in. It might still all be number 46, but after the Hawks knock on the door for all this time, they finally break through and lead 1-0.
That might have gone top shelf. I don't know if that got anyone or hit anything. Right as we were talking about. Yeah, I think it just had eyes. It was a double screen by two of the Blues defense. Well, wow, maybe a triple screen. Like seconds after we said it might be a 1-0 game, Chicago's on the board first. Nice shot by Crevier.
Well, and again, it's the Hawks against the Blues here in Minnesota, but they still rip out Chelsea Dagger after the Hawks score the first goal of the game. Louis Crevier breaks this scoreless tie with 5:53 left in the second period. Let's see how eager the Blues get. Drew Comesso's had a really good night so far. Ooh, and a hard hit into the boards. That's going to get the tempers flaring even more. Definitely not the type of hit you want to see.
That was a bad hit.
And the officials are just trying to make way. I think, was it Paul Ludwinski? Oh, Sam, it was one of the Blues players that went down. No, okay.
It was Sam Savoie. It was just.
So it's Zach Dean going to the box.
I'm curious to see how much they're going to put on the clock for this. Is it just a 2-minute?
I thought it was Ludwinski that went into the boards, but they're giving a lot of recognition to Savoie. It either could have been him going into the boards or him defending Ludwinski. But now Paul Ludwinski just gives him a little head rub, and Savoie with just a big smile on his face. The Hawks already leading 1-0. Here's Bedard from the circle. There's the wrister that everyone's looking for. That looks fun, doesn't it, Chicago? 2-0 Hawks.
He's so good at changing the angle on his shot. You'll see it on the replay. He drags the puck around the defenseman, and the goaltender can't see, or the goaltender's expecting the puck to come one way and it goes the other because Connor changed the angle. Oh, this is a great look at it. Look at this. Whoop. Top shelf.
Very whippy.
The whippy stick. Love the celebration too. He like
his first goal in a Blackhawks uniform. And that brought a rise out of the crowd. All of a sudden the Hawks lead 2-0. And they've got some momentum here. Kicked on back to Misiak. Gorchinski tries to throw one on net and couldn't get through.
All right, Joe, we were talking about this at practice the other day. I think I saw most betting odds have the over-under Connor Bedard's goals this year, 30.5. Taking the over-under.
I try to be a smart bettor, and I would lean towards the under. But when you see him make plays like that, and I get it, it's the prospect showcase. It's not all NHL competition as Martin Misiak continues. That one gets kicked on along. It stays alive in the Blues end. There's a one-timer coming from Parrott. The Hawks definitely have a rush of adrenaline here. Rolston tries to force it forward. It's tough.
I'm taking the over. My pick is, I think he's going to score 34 goals. And it's funny because I don't know if that's, I was like, am I putting too much pressure on the kid if I think 34? But
well, you've got a whole algorithm.
What?
You've crunched the numbers, right?
Yeah, so, well, the reason I think that is the NHL has just trended so offensively. I think it was this past season, the power play percentage was like the 9th highest percentage in NHL history. And goals were significantly up even from like 6 or 7 years ago. I just think, and we saw last period or early, he played a full 2 minutes on the power play while the second unit came out. Like I just think he's going to have so much opportunity to produce, and he's going to play. And like there were 2 rookies this past season, Matty Beniers, Wyatt Johnson. They scored 24 goals this year. Like I think he could score 10 more, you know, than set. And he's just going to be out there so much. Here's another one.
Bedard, here he comes. And it can't have enough momentum to sneak over. He wanted goal number 2. He nearly got it.
All right, I changed my pick. He's going to score 37. No, I'm kidding.
Well, listen, you know his teammates are going to search for him, and you know he's going to search for his teammates, but it seems like his ability just to mesh well with anybody, and he's already got history with Kevin Korchinski, Nolan Allen, Ethan Del Mastro, Colton Dock. I mean,
he's not just a great shooter though. Like he can create his own shot. It's not like
Bedard again with a tough angle shot, but it goes off to the back.
Wow, that looked like it went in from here.
I thought so too. 3:15 left in this second period. And we have seen a goal from Connor Bedard. Lardis leaving it back for Dock. He throws one on net wide. Lardis feeding Bedard. Bedard weaving back to Dock. And a touch pass over to Korchinski. That was nearly timed up perfectly.
2-on-1.
There's the camaraderie you see, but now here come the Blues. Dean on the left side tries to force it through, and Comesso gets a stick on it. Blues keep it alive. Here's Bolduc. Shot coming, goes wide. It got broken up. Now Buchinger behind the Hawk net. Pinned along the boards by Korchinski. Dock will float it on out of there. Settled down by Kessel. 2:20 left in the second period. Hawks up by a pair. Kessel being chased by Gavin Hayes. Blues are trying to quicken up their offense with time expiring in the second period. Comesso will freeze the puck though. 2:01 left with the Hawks up 2-0.
Another thing too with Connor, he's so skilled that even if he goes a few games without scoring or a point, like at any moment he could just erupt for 3 goals in a game and you're like, oh, he's back on track to score 35, or, you know. So
again, we don't have anything to compare it to at the NHL level, but the kid has said everything the right way so far.
Right. I think of when Connor McDavid came in the league, that's like the closest, I won't say comparable, but scoring was so down when McDavid was a rookie. I think he was a point per game player, and then he broke his collarbone, but scoring is so up from when McDavid broke into the league that I just feel like Connor's going to have he's going to be put in so many situations to create and score, power play, even strength, offensive zone face-offs, all that stuff.
I think you're right, because I think the Blackhawks are going to put him in a lot of good opportunities to succeed. He does that very well on his own already. But like you said, maybe some PK opportunities, trying to get...
I could see either of us looking silly on the prediction. Like you going under, like, oh, okay, that's smart. And then he scores whatever it is. And you're like, man, I underestimated the kid. And then there's me saying he's over, and then it's under. And it's like, maybe I put too much pressure. Like, you know, it's just... It's a fun conversation, though.
Well, the thing is, you have evidence to back up your decision, like you said, with how much time he should get at the power play and where some of the other strong talent like him has done in the past. I mean, I don't know. I don't know compared to, we don't see his competition in the NHL yet. We won't see that until the time comes. But everything we've seen so far has been fantastic.
I think the potential argument against is, will he have the line mates to really put up, you know, 35 goals? Like Taylor Hall, like he's a very good player, but he also likes to score goals. So, you know, who's going to be the facilitator of that line? Is Bedard going to create more than he's going to score? You know, like when Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, they broke into the league, there was Patrick Sharp. You know, then They traded for Marian Hossa the next year. They
That's true. We've seen the Patrick Kane effect where it gets into the heads of his line mates of, oh, I need to get the puck to Patrick Kane because Patrick Kane. There's a hard hit on Misiak. Rolston goes to the defense as Sorella will throw it high. Well, Misiak took that hit like a champ.
That was a violent hit.
Yeah, he's not a big guy either, but he seemed to bounce back from it okay. 47.1 seconds left in the second period. We're going to see Marcel from the faceoff dot against Zach Dean.
What a name, huh?
He's a fun guy. We don't have to go in depth to the story of when he found out he got drafted.
Why not?
Attempt for the Blues nearly going in. Yeah, Marcel told us he was coming back from the bathroom when he found out he got drafted.
And showed us the video.
Showed us the video. He was walking in his living room. He was having a draft party at his house, and then his mom started going berserk saying, "You got drafted." He had it all from the Rink camera footage. It was a fun time. Ten seconds left in this second period. Goals by Connor Bedard and Louis Crevier. Marcel will throw one last shot on goal as time expires in the second period. Connor Bedard, his first goal in a Blackhawks sweater. Louis Crevier breaking the scoreless start to this one. The Hawks with a 2-0 lead. The Hawks got a lot of momentum after that first goal, obviously, Charlie, but it was fun to see Connor Bedard in his element.
Yeah, they had an early penalty there, so you thought that the Blackhawks were going to, get their... They recovered, and I think when you have 98 on your team, you want to be the team that's on the power play, not on the penalty kill.
We'll see what 98 and the rest of the Hawks can do in the third period. St. Louis looking eager to even things up, but there is the first goal for Connor Bedard in the red sweater. 20 minutes left in the Blackhawks' first game of this Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. The St. Louis Blues, after a 5-1 win against the Minnesota Wild yesterday, are now trailing 2-0. We saw Kurvers and Connor Bedard, Charlie.
Yeah, and we had some physicality as well. Both good and bad hits. Here's a nice play by Marty Misiak. You got Alex Farron generating a nice scoring chance, and then obviously the 2 goals by Louis Kurvers and Connor Bedard. Both of the shots came from the perimeter, not really in a high danger area. So that was a much better period for Chicago. I know they had the early penalty in the second, but they want to keep this at even strength or be on the power play. I think they've given St. Louis too many power play opportunities. They've killed them off, but I think once the game got tilted in Chicago's favor, it was more so even strength power play time for them.
That highlight reel goal by Connor Bedard, just the quickness, the ability of him being able to tuck that puck back in, and the release point, it's just really astounding and something you can't teach. I mean, that just shows his skill set to a team.
Yeah, and I think it goes studying today's NHL players. We see Austin Matthews score a lot of his goals like that, where it's like a toe drag move to change the angle and then you just kind of whip it. Connor, I mean, that looked very Austin Matthews-like by Connor Bedard. So I think he's such a student of the game too that he's I'm sure studies those NHL players, and it's just different from even when we were watching in the 90s and just 10 years ago. Like the way players score nowadays is just so different, and Connor just found a way to change the angle, and he's going to score a ton of those goals just like how he did in the second period.
Not to mention that Drew Commesso is pitching a shutout right now. The Blackhawks.
You said the S word.
I come from a baseball background. I don't believe in jinxes. I've called a few no-hitters, and I've said the word no-hitter. But Drew Commesso, with so much work this past offseason, it's really showing off here in this first game of the Prospect Showcase. Yeah,
agreed. And he had a very good season at BU last season, and he started off a little slow, and then he actually had mono, I think it was around Christmas time, and he said that really affected him, and it took him a while to, kind of feel like himself again. And once he did, go look at his numbers from, his last 15 or so games. He was ridiculous. I think he flirted with a 940 save percentage, so he really finished the season strong.
We begin this third period from the TRIA Rink at St. Paul, Minnesota, and as we do, a quick note to the Hunter family. Blackhawks would like to express their condolences. As there's a shot coming from Colton Dock. Tough angle from the corner, and it sneaks its way through. Colton Dock joining in on the fun as he makes it 3-0 Hawks.
2 of the 3 goals, both Colton and Louis Kurvers, just get the puck on net, right? Like right there, that was an innocent shot by Colton Dock, and it just found its way to the net, which is, it's funny that the goals are being scored like this because St. Louis's goaltenders have been awesome both last night and today. So the Blackhawks are scoring these goals. I went off the skate or stick of Matt Kessel. Unfortunate break, but yeah, just get the puck to the net.
Yeah, for the majority of this game, it was all about the goaltending. And once the Blackhawks were able to break through and pick up the first goal, held all the offensive momentum so far. So now a 3-0 lead to begin this third period. As Gavin Hayes works it on out to Sam Savoie. Savoie continues to get that physicality. He and Leo Loof get tangled up. Looks like Savoie lost his stick over on the Blues bench.
See, that was good restraint right there by Sam Savoie. The Blackhawks are up 3-0. That could have been easy for him to want to drop the gloves and maybe make an impression, but that's where you have to have the restraint to not engage and give the other team a power play. So that's where he did a really good job of walking that line.
Well, again, wanted to express our condolences to the Hunter family. The Blackhawks assistant GM Megan Hunter lost her grandfather recently, so the Blackhawks would like to express their thoughts and prayers to the Hunter family during this tough time. Mastro loses it off into the corner. Misiak, who's had a good game, will work it on out to the neutral zone to regroup. We talk about all these other guys, Charlie, like Misiak and Marcel, and even Wyatt Kaiser. I mean, it's important to point out the depth that this prospect pool has, because there's going to be so much focus on Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, Kevin Korchinski, all the top prospects, but the depth is what can create a Stanley Cup type environment. As Ferran Does get something going, but it goes right to the glove of Cranley.
Yeah, no question. I think about when Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews both broke into the league as rookies. There was Duncan Keith, there was Brent Seabrook, there was Patrick Sharp. They had a lot of these young guys, and then there were more that the Andrew Shaws, the Brandon Saads, like all those role players end up emerging as Nicholas Hjalmarsson. So many guys I'm missing, but the Blackhawks have to, just because they got Connor Bedard, it doesn't mean that the Blackhawks rebuild is well, all right, let's speed this thing up. I think they have to have another really good draft. And make sure that they're finding these pieces later in the rounds. I look at Tampa, the way they were built. They found some hidden gems late. Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov was in the second round. I know a lot of their core players were in the first round, like Stamkos and Victor Hedman, Andrei Vasilevsky, but you have to find those mid to later round gems as well. And so just wrapping up the point of Connor Bedard, yeah, he's going to be the franchise-changing player, but you got to make sure that the prospects around him are also developing so that he has the right support group around him when the Blackhawks are going to be competitive again.
Well, how about the 2019 Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues? I mean, they were a very deep team. Big reason why they were able to end their drought. Here's Alexandrov trying to throw a shot off. Crevier getting in the way of it. Comesso will slide it over to the right, but St. Louis keeps it alive. Bolduc trying to leave it back for Luth. He does settle it down. It would have been a really crafty pass coming from Zach Dean, but the Hawks come away with it. As Kaiser will dump it on in. There's Zach Dean again, tipping it over to Kessel. Blues can have some numbers here. Shot coming, misses off to the left. And again, Dean, a tough angle pass. He was just trying to throw it on net and almost found its way in.
Yeah, that line again, St. Louis's big guns. Really solid last night, strong again tonight.
Well, again, as Drew Comesso continues to really shine here tonight, we talked about all the mental skills that he's been working on during the offseason. He's been taking cognitive training, and he's been focusing a lot on his breathing, and that's something that the Blackhawks kind of introduced with one of their former players in Johnny Oduya, and how much that can help out all types of hockey players. But Drew Comesso has kind of taken it on his own. He says it's even helped him maintain his weight because he doesn't sweat so much. There's another hard hit by Savoie. Drew Comesso says he's able to maintain his weight a little bit better because he has such control of his breathing in net. He's able to stay calm, not move around too much, and just have good positioning. Because it looks like we're going to get a penalty here.
I can't think of a more stressful position in sports, probably quarterback, than a hockey goaltender. So we're working on his breathing and making sure that his heart rate is low and he's steady into the game. Very key. And like you said, that the Blackhawks went off ice with their development camp this year, and one of those things was bringing a guy in like Johnny Oduya to focus on the breathing exercises and a whole lot. And I'm sure Drew Comesso was probably ahead of the game in a lot of those departments because he had already been working on those.
I think he said he's doing yoga twice a day too, when he wakes up and before he goes to bed. Kevin Korchinski, a one-timer from the high slot. Hawks will keep it alive. Korchinski to Gavin Hayes. Throws one on net, and that one goes into the netting, stopping the clock. Hawks will have a power play for 1:43. It's Quentin Burns in the box.
So you saw Bedard there. He was on the left side of the face-off circle. And you'll see that. We saw that a lot with Patrick Kane here in Chicago, where he would be on the right side of the face-off, and then sometimes he would be on the left because it gives him an opportunity to pull the trigger, similar to what Connor's first shot looked like. But
gritty face-off win there.
Now he's back on the right.
There's Bedard on the right. Cross-ice pass to Hayes. Couldn't quite handle it, though. There's Washkarat gaining speed on the near side. That puck jumps over the stick of the attempt from Andre Heim. There's Bedard gaining speed again. Misiak. Bedard down low. Cross-ice feed, looking for Doc. Hayes tries to ring it around. Minute left on this Blackhawks power play. Korchinski, Bedard's loading up on the left side. Touch pass to Colton Doc. He gets thrown down. Man, what a pass by Bedard there, though.
Yeah, it looked like a shot pass originally.
There's Bedard getting again, mid-slot, weaves in. And another tough angle shot, Connor Bedard. His second goal of the night, and he continues to put on quite a show.
He's picking corners. He went top left corner in his first goal. Now he went top right.
This is his first game of some type of NHL caliber, and he is just picking his spots like nothing out there.
I mean, look at him. He's dancing around all those Blues as well. It's not just the shot. It's the way he created the shot as well. I mean, dance over this guy, and I'm going to go this way, and then I'm just going to pop it over. I mean, he went on the right side. Typically, you typically will try to go short side on that one and pop it over the goaltender's right shoulder, but unreal. Joe, I didn't bring a hat. I know where. Did you bring one?
I did not.
I see a lot of fans wearing some hats. There's a little netting blocking though, so if there is a hat trick, we'll see how many actually get to the ice.
There's a handful of Connor Bedard sweaters out in the stands, not just on the Blackhawks bench. But so far, he's living up to the hype in the first game of this prospect showcase. We'll get another penalty on St. Louis.
These two going at it again. They obviously had the scrap in the first period.
4-0 Hawks, half the goals coming from Connor Bedard. This power play will be Paul Ludwinski, Sam Savoie, Nick Lardis, Wyatt Kaiser, and Ethan Del Mastro. Again, this is Will Cranley in net for the St. Louis Blues. He took over for Colton Ellis. That was the plan for this game. The Hawks win the draw. Del Mastro tried to get it to Savoie, but he whiffed. Hawks will play the Minnesota Wild tomorrow at 3 to wrap up the Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. In training camp, kicks off at Fifth Third Arena next week. Preseason right around the corner. Opening night on October 10th against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Seems like Connor Bedard and Sidney Crosby have already filmed a promo for that game.
Connor Bedard, he's so humble. He doesn't like talking about opening night because he's like, I got to make the team first. And I'm like, Connor, I'll tell you, you're going to make the team. I think we were talking to Ethan Del Mastro as well this morning. And after the Blackhawks had won the lottery, Ethan had texted Connor because they were teammates on Team Canada at the World Juniors. And Connor's like, we got to wait to see how the draft plays out.
There's a hard hit by Ethan Del Mastro. Throws LaFerriere into the boards. LaFerriere wanted more. The Hawks work it on out. Well, I talked to Kevin Korchinski last season as the Seattle Thunderbirds were in the playoffs, and this was after the World Juniors, and just brought up the idea, do you allow yourself to think about playing with Connor Bedard? Kaiser's shot gets blocked. And he said it had a raving review about him as a teammate, as a person. He's like, but you just can't let your mind wander that much. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't want to just rely on things like that. And again, there is team camaraderie with this young group already because of World Juniors, because of the Seattle Thunderbirds, and just because of this rebuild that's been going on now for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And that chemistry has the opportunity to just grow and do a positive snowball effect.
It's hard not to, if you're a Korchinski or a Blackhawks prospect, not to let yourself think, man, like I could play with this guy for the next 10 years, 15 years, however long it could be. And I'm sure that's motivating for a lot of the prospects that are in the pipeline right now, thinking like, okay, this kid is going to be here for the next 2 decades. Like, I want to make sure that I want to be part of this.
He's back out on the ice on the left side. Gavin Hayes throws a wrister and snatched into the glove of Will Cranley. 13-12 left in regulation.
Gavin Hayes, he's got an underrated shot. I mean, I think he was top 10 in goals last year in the O. I mean, not bad right out of your draft here.
Played in 7 games for the Flint Firebirds, picked up a couple of assists. Bedard down low. Searching, finds Nolan Allen. He nearly put it through. Will Cranley with a couple of big stops as that will expire. St. Louis Blues penalty, 13:01 left in regulation.
Again, we talk about Connor Bedard's shot, but I mean, he's slicked that pass cross ice through a couple defenders. I mean, he's a playmaker too. He's not just a guy that's going to score however many goals and have a low number of assists. Like he's going to produce in every way.
Almost had an opportunity on the doorstep there. I think you're right, Charlie. It's the awareness that's there.
Right.
I think he's just always looking for the best situation. I mean, we're not in his head, but he has 2 goals now. And I think he'll still be aggressive throwing pucks towards the net, but I think he might be a little bit more pass friendly at the moment. Crevier gets thrown into the boards. I mean, that's what you like to see from a young kid like that, trying to make his way on this team.
Yeah, and he's got the confidence too. I mean, he's not timid. Like obviously he's playing against his players that are in his age range right now, but when he gets to the NHL, like, it doesn't feel like he's gonna be timid and demanding the puck. Like he's gonna want to produce and be an impact type player right away. It's just that's how great players like him are wired.
Under 12 minutes left. Misiak putting a strong hit on Washkorek.
I'm looking at this line right now that just so much size from Chicago. It's such a different. I mean, 3 years ago when we were watching prospects games, I couldn't even tell you the amount of I mean, it was maybe a couple that were over 6 feet, 6'1". I mean, now it feels like there are only a handful that are under that.
Well, you definitely feel like that was the change a couple years ago, and starting with the draft pick of Nolan Allen. You didn't see the Blackhawks going after too many defensively minded defensemen, but it seemed like they were adapting to the times of what the NHL was turning back to. Again, the St. Louis Blues winning the Cup in 2019. The Vegas Golden Knights always being a threat in the playoffs. These stronger, bigger, more physical teams were becoming more productive for long playoff runs. The Colorado Avalanche, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it was good to see the Blackhawks make that turn. But in doing so, you still need that offensive talent. And I do think it's a good job of Kyle Davidson for being very decisive with his offensive picks and being strategic with the assets that he had. And it takes a lot to make sure it all culminates. I mean, there's still a long way to go. But so far, it's hard to pick apart any wrongdoings.
Yeah, and I think
in terms of building up a team.
Yeah, the Blackhawks really want their defensemen to be difficult to play against. Like, good luck trying to find some space in the home area against our defensemen. I mean, you just look, we're watching them right now, but just look at in the NHL for Chicago. Seth Jones, Connor Murphy, Alex Vlasic, I think is going to be a full-time player. Isaac Phillips, who played in this game last year, is going to compete for a roster spot. Those guys are, you know, if you're an opposing forward going into Chicago, like, you want them to be awake at night knowing, like, all right, I'm going to have to earn my ice.
Jack Dean nearly getting a breakaway. What a stop coming from Crevier. He's done it offensively and defensively. Well, that phrase you just uttered goes back to the Luke Richardson way of thinking. You know, no matter where we are in the standings, we want teams to look at the schedule and be like, oh man, we got to face Chicago.
Yeah, I forgot Jared Tenorti too. He's like the definition of, he's like he's cut from the same cloth as Luke Richardson. So it's evident when you see the guys that they're bringing in, what types of players and what types of defensemen that they want.
Savoie cutting in, went for a centering pass to Ludwinski. They nearly got it. Del Mastro with a drive. Thought it snuck through. Cranley able to get his pad on it, and Savoie once again getting into the weeds.
See, another one where he shows restraint. Obviously his He was trying to defend his teammate Wyatt Kaiser down there, but he wasn't doing anything reckless. He's not trying to create something, but he's kind of letting them know, hey, I'm not going to let you push around my teammate like that. So,
well, I think that's a really good thing to point out because he's another guy that impressed a lot of people last year's prospect tournament. And again, it was his physicality, a big reason of that. And talking to him earlier this week, he's like, oh yeah, I'm bringing that again. That's a big part of my game. And I feel like I have to up my game because everything went so well last year. I can't just sit back and think it's going to happen again. So your adrenaline could get the best of you, and you can make those reckless penalties and do those reckless plays. But you're right. I think there have been some mid-game adjustments by him that have really worked well in his favor.
Yeah, I think it's just picking your spots, right? It's making sure that you're not putting yourself, if it's a 1-0 game or your team is leading, you don't want to give the opponent a power play and trim the lead, or if your team has the momentum, you don't want to give them momentum by awarding them a power play when it could have been restrained. So, but I like him as a player. Like you can't just have all offensively skilled guys or straight defense. You have to have some guys that can play with jam and can fill different roles in a lineup.
8:25 left in regulation. Bedard back on the ice. Cranley plays it up along the boards. Nolan Allen tries to keep it in the blue zone. Bedard at the far boards. It's at the dock. Korchinski goes off the shin pad of one of the St. Louis Blues. Now Washkarak trying to pitch it on out of there. Comes Biasca. Sandwiched against a couple of Hawks. Now a tough angle attempt from Washkarak. It didn't connect with any teammates, though. Lardis moving forward. He's got Bedard over to his left. There's Connor Bedard with another shot and a hat-trick goal. Connor Bedard has done it all tonight. Well, the netting's in the way.
I was going to say there are a couple fans trying to throw their hats onto the ice, but it's getting caught in the netting and falling back. Never a doubt, right? That this was going to happen. Once he gets one, he feels it. Once he gets two, then he wants the third one.
And just creating his own space, tough angle. I mean, just the quick release there.
I mean, he's already got an NHL shot. I could have even said that last year. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it was on full display at the World Juniors, too. That's when everyone heard about how special this kid is, but then when you actually see it and how he just set records for Team Canada, seeing it in person is just like...
I mean, we can ask it now. What's your favorite Connor Bedard goal?
Goal 1, goal 2, goal 3.
I think goal 2.
He's still got 7 minutes left.
Offsides. I think it's goal 2. I think it goes 2-1-3. And that's saying something, that third goal that he just scored might have been the least impressive out of the 3.
It's funny because he's already scored 3, and I'm just like, oh, okay, which one? I mean, we're debating the goal. There's going to be a lot of that this year where maybe not in the same game, but they're special player.
6:50 left in regulation. Kessel tees it up, and it caught iron, but it goes out of play. That's the closest that the St. Louis Blues have gotten to a goal tonight. Drew Commesso having quite a night.
This is where Marc-Andre Fleury would rub the post and say thank you.
Well, Commesso sporting Marc-Andre Fleury's old number 29, too.
29.
Well, and that was a big story with the Blackhawks last year, was the goaltending depth and really more of the merry-go-round of goaltenders the Hawks had yet last year. Alex Stalock, Pete Mrazek, Arvid Soderblom, and Jackson Stauber, everybody pitching in. And now Drew Commesso coming into the mix this year in terms of the depth. I mean, there's a good chance he'll end up in Rockford. I mean, this is a Team USA goalie. This is a guy with clearly a good head on his shoulders. It's a promising thing to add to the Blackhawk goaltending depth for the near future.
Yeah, and he has a little experience. He represented Team USA at the Olympics when the NHL players couldn't go during COVID. So I'm sure that was a great experience for him, just being around. Now it's the Blackhawks getting the the power plays here.
And again, Comesso at 21 years old, but just putting all this focus during the offseason into his mental health, his physical health. Like basically getting NHL ready physically and mentally before he's even gone into Rockford.
You know what is going to be an adjustment, and not just for him, but a lot of college players, when they go from college to pro, you only play like 40-ish games as a college player.
It's a very spread out season too.
Talking to Anders Sorensen the other day, and he was saying, you know, we hit 40 games by Christmas or by January. Right. So it also is going to be an adjustment period for these college players. How can they pace themselves to have the energy to kind of give it for all 82 games if they're in the NHL plus playoffs? I mean, that's
power play for the Hawks here as they try to shovel it through.
When you think about the playoffs too, like I just think of NHL players, 82 games plus playoffs. Let's just say you're a team like Vegas that won the Stanley Cup, and you're playing in between. I mean, you're probably playing in between 30 to 50 games in the playoffs, and they say the playoff intensity is like playing 2 games in one. Right. So it's like just another season.
Well, I mean, look at how much it affected the Blackhawks during their runs, 2010 to 2015, 3 Stanley Cups, and they went to 3 straight Western Conference Finals. You guys are almost playing a whole nother season with all the playoff games. We get 5:25 left in regulation, 1:30 on this Blackhawks power play. Ethan Del Mastro, Wyatt Kaiser, Sam Savoie, Paul Ludwinski, and Nick Lardis out on the ice for the Hawks. Kaiser keeps it alive in the corner. Del Mastro can get a clean shot off.
Kaiser man in the point here on the power play as he's done on the second unit. Interesting that Ethan Del Mastro is also on the... I'm saying Del Mastro like it's a Del Mastro.
Again, final game of this Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase tomorrow at 3, but training camp is next week over at Fifth Third Arena. I guarantee it'll be very, very busy over there. Preseason right around the corner towards the end of September. 6 preseason games before the regular season starts October 10th against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the home opener October 21st against the reigning Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. So many more weekend games this year too, Charlie. A lot of great opportunities to bring the families out. Those Sunday, Saturday games are a thing of beauty over at the United Center. As Evan Hayes gets tripped up real hard. There's another feed from Bedard, nearly picked up an assist.
Hayes is laboring a little bit as he goes to the bench. Joe, like you meant, I mean, listen, wins and losses, the Blackhawks probably going to be towards the bottom of the standings again, but they became so much more watchable with the addition of Connor Bedard. Like, they might lose 5-2 in a game, but it's like Connor might do something very special. Similar to watching the Blackhawks with Patrick Kane these last couple of years where, the Blackhawks are going to be towards the basement in the NHL, but Patrick Kane does something special every night. They immediately... How fortunate are the Blackhawks to go from Kane to Connor Bedard, and they're going to have him for the next, I hope 15, 20 years.
Well, the transparency that happened last year in terms of where the team was going to be, we were leaning on competitiveness. How are the Blackhawks going to be? Can't quite say how good they'll be in the standings, but they should be competitive with the roster they built, with the coaching staff they had. Then they proved that. Even though they finished third, the bottom third of the standings, they were clearly competitive almost every single game. So now with an incrementally better roster this year, you would expect that to continue as we get more tangled up bodies here. But now not only is there the competitiveness factor, but there's also the excitement factor. That's where Connor Bedard comes in. That's where some of these other youngsters come in. Lucas Reichel, I mean, what's his improvements in the second year going to be like?
I was just about to say that. We're talking about Connor Bedard, but you think of a guy like Lucas Reichel, who's probably going to be a full-time NHL player with the Blackhawks this year. It's really all about seeing those young players take strides, right? So if the Blackhawks finish bottom 10 again this year, which is likely, if you come away with the season feeling like Bedard was Bedard and Lucas Reichel took a significant step, I mean, it's hard to not get excited about where the team would be trending. So And same with the in goal. Like, they're going to have Arvid Soderblom, who's going to be the 1B to Peter Mrazek this year. So they're going to start to find out what they have in some of their prospects.
So expect to hear a lot of Chelsea Dagger, because we hear that sticking around, huh?
It is sticking around. Good decision, too.
Marcel keeps it alive.
Ooh.
He gets tangled up hard. A little slew foot there.
Yep, I was going to say that would look like a knee-on-knee collision.
I think that was from Leo Loof. Wyatt Kaiser really getting into the thick of things. He's been active all game.
This is where, if you're the Blackhawks, you just want to get out of this game. There's 2.5 minutes left. Oof.
Yeah, I don't like to see that.
This is where, I mean, there's 2.5 minutes left. It's a 5-0 game. There's nothing good that's going to come out of it. St. Louis at this point is, you know, they just want to make sure that they're, I mean, they're frustrated. St. Louis is frustrated that it's 5-0, so it's no surprise. I mean, the roles can be flipped too. Like, we've seen this, you know, when teams are trailing and things aren't going their way, it's late in the game. They just want to make a final impression or whatever it is.
Well, and let's be honest, this was a pretty close-knit game the first half.
Yeah, it was. And St. Louis had their opportunities, especially in the first period. 3 power plays, and they had another one right out of the second period.
It was the goal by Louis Crevier that kind of got things going, and then the hard hit, still not quite sure if it was Savoie or Pavlo Gwinski, but either way, it got the Hawks a little revved up, and then the Connor Bedard first goal of the night. Again, Connor Bedard with a hat trick tonight in his first game in a Blackhawks sweater.
By the way, I haven't seen Connor since that last goal, and that rightfully so. At this point, you want to protect him, and then you get the second unit right now getting some reps that they maybe haven't gotten because Connor had dominated Connor's unit.
Another power play here for the Hawks as Kaiser throws it from up top. 2:08 left in regulation. Again, Hawks will play again tomorrow against Minnesota at 3. That game will be available as well on YouTube on the Blackhawks website. You can catch that. But again, it is unofficially hockey season. You got a game circled on the calendar you're most interested in coming up?
Well, that opening road trip is pretty, that's a tough opener for Chicago, but I mean, it's hard not to get excited. That was almost a too many men on the ice penalty, but at this point, it's just like, let's just let the clock tick. You know, Sid versus Connor opening night is just awesome, but then there's the additional factor of the Penguins acquiring Erik Karlsson and kind of making that big splash. So Pittsburgh's going to be juiced as well on opening night. I think they just got a new Jumbotron too. I'm curious to see how that looks in person.
Stay tuned for Charlie Roumeliotis' Jumbotron Power Rankings.
Yeah, we're having a 1,000-word feature on all 32 at the end of the year.
Well, and again, it should be a fun environment when the Vegas Golden Knights come to town, reigning Stanley Cup champs. October 21st, the regular season gets going at the United Center.
A lot of storylines too. Second game, Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno back in Boston. You got Montreal facing Kirby Dach, former Chicago Blackhawk.
That's something I wanted to bring up too. Colton Dach was talking in the dressing room the other day about how he's hopeful he can make this team and face his brother, and he just liked that attitude coming from a guy like Colton Dach.
Yeah, I'm sure they've had a lot of brotherly battles growing up.
Drew Commesso slows down the puck with 30 seconds left. That's how far away he is from a shutout. 5-0 Hawks. A hat trick from Connor Bedard tonight. And another glove save from Drew Commesso.
We're smiling at each other because he said the S word again. 16.8. I don't believe in those jinxes either.
It's the prospect showcase. He has shown how much he has worked this offseason. Connor Bedard has done what he's wanted and needed to do, and this is a packed crowd here tonight. They got to see what they came for, too.
A lot of Bedard jerseys. And Minnesota's playing tomorrow, so there are a lot of Wild fans that showed up for this because they wanted to see Connor. I can only imagine what that's going to be like for NHL road cities this year, and even in Chicago. All right, Joe, we're safe. We can say it.
The Blackhawks' first Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase game is a shutout and a hat trick night. Connor Bedard with 3 goals in his first game in a Blackhawks sweater. Drew Commesso stopping every shot from the St. Louis Blues. And quite a start to the hockey season for the boys in red tonight. This was a fun game, Charlie.
It was. The fans were treated to an exciting game. Connor Bedard's hat trick, Drew Comesso's shutout. There was some physicality, there were some fights, there were some questionable hits. Felt like a little mini Blues-Blackhawks rivalry from the past.
All right, we're going to see all 3 Connor Bedard goals. I want you to rank all 3 of them for me. Let's see, I think this is number, no, there was a Colton Dach goal
Colton's
in the 3rd period. So there's Colton Dach's first.
I feel like once that went in, it was like this game's pretty much over at this point. And then here's Connor's dipsy doodle. Goes right side. I still can't believe he got that on the...
That one's my favorite. That's number 1. Goal number 2 was goal number 1. And goal number 3 was goal number 3. There it is.
Yep.
That was the 3rd most impressive goal that Connor Bedard scored tonight.
I mean, I like the first one just because we had a great angle of how he changed the angle on the shot, and it just went top shelf to the left side. But good problem to have when we're dissecting which goal was our favorite by Connor tonight.
Charlie, fun broadcast, man.
Good stuff.
He's Charlie Romeliotis.
Chicago.
I'm Joe Brand. 5-0. The Blackhawks shut out the St. Louis Blues in their first game of the Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. Thanks for tuning in, whether it was YouTube, the Blackhawks website, the Blues website. Hawks will have one more game tomorrow against the Minnesota Wild. That is at 3. You can find it exactly where you found tonight's game. We saw a lot tonight and a lot of fun things to look forward to for Blackhawks fans. Have a great rest of your Saturday night, everybody.